Proud of You is a parenting advice podcast and support group for dads hosted by two goofy dads. They are not pediatricians, nutritionists, OBGYNs, psychologists, nor are they authorities on parenting. They're just two dinguses trying to figure it all out. Their advice should not be taken as expert information. Parenting looks different for everyone, and there's no wrong way to be a dad. Frankly, if you're taking the time to listen to a podcast about it, you're already doing a great job. And these dads are proud of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Derek Mata.
And I'm Andrew Goody, and we are proud of you. So Derek, you're gonna be a drummer now, right?
Yeah, I'm be what's that guy's name? Joey Slipknot guy. I'll be like him.
I thought you were gonna say Joey Chestnut, the hot dog eating.
I do like some hot dogs, but like I could never. I'm at 2 and I'm done. Like I don't need 52 in 10 minutes or whatever the fuck it is.
Dude, I have no idea. His record is ridiculous.
Isn't he like he's not allowed to compete anymore or something?
I think he retired. I think like maybe his doctor told him he's not allowed to compete anymore. I don't think he got like kicked out of the. I was gonna say Newman's. Is it Newman's Zone?
It's Nathan's. Nathan's hot dogs.
Nathan's hot dogs. Yeah.
I don't think Newman's makes hot dogs. I think they're just like salad dressing.
Newman makes everything, man. Like
I buy the same shit every week. What do I know?
There you go.
But no, so I'm sitting here and watching my old people YouTube shorts and Facebook reels and shit. And drummers come up, drummers and chefs. Me at 35 years old, like I could do that. Like I could totally get into be just like a professional drummer. Obviously, I wouldn't do it for that reason, but like at what point in our lives we're like, yeah, that's a dream lost. Like ever since Rock Band, the first Rock Band came out, I loved drumming. I was never good at it, but I loved doing it.
Yeah. I don't believe in dreams lost. I think that's a shitty life perspective because I always want to keep trying new things, man. Like I want to be that 80-year-old who's like, "Hey, I'm going to start drumming now." Like,
Or you could just have a normal sounding voice at 80 years old.
Yeah. Hello, I'm going to start drumming now. This is me when I'm 80.
That sounds much better. I give April shit all the time because she does her old lady voice. I'm like, but how many old ladies actually sound like that?
Anyways. I'm gonna laugh when April and I are 80 years old and we actually sound like that, though.
if we can remember that I made this joke, I would be impressed. But no, I get what you're saying though, because I always want to try new things, but maybe it's a thought thing. Like, where do I want to see? Yes, it is just a hobby. Like, do I want the hobby to make me money? Probably not. Could I do gig work? Probably not. Not in my old age. I got some more grays up in here. You can't see them on camera, but they're there. But I always thought it'd be fun. Like, just going fucking nuts and just beating the shit out of whatever material the drums are made out of. Like,
yeah, no, what I mean, I think the big thing for me with picking up new hobbies, right? Because like we've talked about, like I do a little bit of everything, and I find a new hobby every week that I enjoy and want to do. The thing is always like it's a function of time, right? Like when am I going to do a new hobby, right? I'm already balancing all of my other things. When am I going to do a new hobby? And with something like instruments, especially with drums, right? Drums take up a lot of room. Like a full-on drum set, that's a guest room. Like that's a whole room that you need for a drum set. So like, or like the third car side of your garage type of thing. Like you're committing to a ton of space. And so, like where do you draw that line, right? Of like, okay, I am committed enough to this thing that I'm going to try a new thing. And that's why I really like hobbies that you can try before you get into, right? Like if you are getting into Magic the Gathering. You don't have to go and spend a ton of crazy amount of money on cards and everything. You can go get a starter deck for free from most local game stores and play a couple games and figure out if you like it. And if you like it, then you can go and invest in the hobby and, you know, invest time, invest money. But you can try it before you do it. Same with a lot of like, there are like a lot of board game cafes and stuff popping up now, and like some of them are bars and some of them are like coffee shops, but they have like a wall of board games, and you can just pay like $10 an hour or whatever it is and play board games there, and you can try out, you know, new, you know, tabletop RPGs and whatever. And then if you hate it, you spent $10 and you had a good time like drinking some coffee, even though you weren't having fun playing whatever game that is not going to be a hobby for you, right? Like when I've had so many friends who were like, I want to get into riding motorcycles, and I'm like, okay, like go like find a like a training class that has rental bikes and go take a couple laps. Don't go buy a motorcycle if you've never ridden one before. And you're laughing because that's exactly what you did. You have had a bike sitting in your garage for how long now that you've ridden like 3 times?
Listen, okay, so that's not my first motorcycle, but my thing was I wanted to learn to ride a motorcycle. I had a little extra cash. Couldn't tell you at this point where the fuck this extra cash came from because, you know, I've been fucking flat broke my entire life. But I had it, and I went and picked up some for under $3,000, and I taught myself how to ride. Yes, granted, I don't ride fucking jack shit anymore, but...
Yeah. Well, and if you had decided, like, if you had gotten on a motorcycle and realized like, hey, this isn't for me, or like I'm never, like, realistically, like you don't really ride, right? Even though it's under $3,000, that's still a huge investment for most people to then turn around and either have to deal with the burden of selling or just have spent $3,000 on something that's a really cool paperweight in your garage.
So,
you know?
So yeah, when we were looking at cost, so like, yes, $3,000 for a hobby is expensive. My mindset was like, hey, it is another mode of transportation. I could save some gas, save some money. So like, you want to buy a $3,000 car or do you want to buy a $3,000 motorcycle kind of thing? If it was, okay, let's take, you mentioned Magic. Like, let's say Magic. And yes, have I spent a fuck ton of money in Magic? Sure. But like,
it's the latest hobby. It's the flavor of the week.
Yeah, I've stuck with it for a couple of months now. I keep up with the current news, but that's neither here nor there. But like, let's say a person wants to get into Magic, and I'm like, man, I've got, or you, or Sam, you're like, I've got $10,000 in Magic cards, and somebody gets into it, and like, wow, I have to spend $10,000 to be good at Magic. Like, no, you don't. You just got to be smart.
Yeah.
So it depends on the hobby. So like, let's say I wanted to take up drumming. Obviously, space-wise, I don't have a lot of space, especially in this room. I wouldn't do in the garage because Arizona, about 6 billion degrees in my garage.
Yeah.
But like, they're expensive. Like, at what point would I be like, hey, I'm going to spend, I don't know, you said is what, $1,200? Like,
it just depends, man. I mean, you can find a drum set on Craigslist for $300. I mean, it's not going to be a you know, beautiful, you know, Zildjian cymbals and a pearl set, but like,
what?
You can find a first act drum kit for a couple $100.
Fucking dream crushed. I don't want that. No, but like, depending on the hobby, like you can say, okay, I want to get into drumming, so I'm willing to spend $300. I'm not going to go spend $3,000 on a drum set because that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Buying a first motorcycle, again, I'm not going to, you know,
maybe like
$100.
You know, the phrase that always comes up is like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? And like, I think that's bullshit too, because I've taught a lot of old dogs how to sit and shake and roll over. Like,
hey, I got an old dog. I want to teach you.
I understand. I understand the sentiment behind that idea, but I don't believe it at all, right? And so like, go try it, right? Like, I think that's a lot of people's hesitancy, right? Is they're like, like I'm in my 30s, I've already developed who I am. I can't try something new, right? Like, I'm a nerdy finance guy. I can't go be a drummer. Like, that's not my personality. And like, who said that, right? That's a mental barrier that you're creating for yourself. Go down to a music store and like most, I don't know, it's been a hot minute since I went to like a Guitar Center or a local music shop, but like most of them have a drum set up. And if you are nice to the employees and you aren't just a raging psycho that's like smashing sticks through it, they'll let you play around on the set and see if it's even something that you're interested in. Find a music school that has drum lessons where you can go to the shop and have somebody teach you how to play drums, and go to a couple lessons and see whether you like it or not.
No, it'd be a cheaper alternative.
Yeah.
I think the big thing is like, so we're set in our ways. We're the nerdy finance guy. I think it also has a lot to do with the older we get, we're afraid to fail. We're afraid to waste time.
Yeah.
Because we have at this point realized that like time is not an infinite thing. Like there is an end.
Yeah.
And we are like, well, I don't want to put all the time into that. I don't want to fail because somebody's going to think I'm a failure and all my friends are going to laugh at me. Like, I don't care if I fail. Y'all can laugh at me all you want.
I was gonna say, you just got to get past that, man. I want to fail as much as possible before I die. Like, if I succeed a few times, great. But like, the more I mess up, the more I learn, right? Like, you don't learn from being good at something right off the bat. You learn from trying something and failing and messing up and figuring it out.
And if anything, it shows our children like, hey, it's okay to fail. Like, and no, I'm not gonna not pick up drums because I'm afraid to fail. Like, I don't know where to begin. Like, I'm probably not that good. I couldn't get past medium difficulty on Rock Band.
Yeah,
but I mean,
well,
obviously,
I think
a game versus real drumming.
I'm really curious, because like, obviously Alana is like trying a ton of new things, but it's like food and toys, right? She's not really into like the actually figuring out like hobbies and sports and that kind of stuff yet. But I think having a kid can be a really good catalyst for that, right? Because like, if Noah is like, hey dad, I want to learn karate, like, you can find like a father-son karate place where you can go and do that with him, and it's a bonding thing for you guys, and you get to learn a new skill and stuff too, right? And then even more so, you get to show him like, hey, I'm failing with you, right? Like, I just got kicked in the nuts because we're in karate class. Like, and like, you can do those hobbies with your kid, and maybe the two of you develop a tradition where like you do this thing together, like every Saturday night you guys go to karate together, or for the rest of your life, every weekend you guys play soccer or whatever, and it doesn't always have to be for the rest of your life, right? It can just be for a while until you guys move on and find something else. But best case scenario, you find this awesome connection with your kid. Worst case scenario, you have a good time with your kid and you find out that one or both of you isn't into that thing, and then move on to a new hobby.
And then maybe your kid will stick with it because they don't want to disappoint you.
Yeah. And maybe you'll stick with it because you don't want to disappoint your kid.
Also fair, which, it's easy to be like, oh, I didn't enjoy that. You have one bad class and suddenly you don't want to do it anymore. Like, it teaches your kid to just push through hard times.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a role model, so like I'm saying the right things, but like I can tell you right now that my kids probably look at me like, yeah, look at the half finished projects all around the house, Dad. Like, who are you kidding?
Yeah. Well, and I think that can be, and again, this is more hypothetical for me because I'm not at this point in my parenting career yet. I'm excited to be at that level of dad, but I'm enjoying where I'm at now. But like, I think it can be a really good reminder, right? To kind of hold yourself accountable to that, right? Like, if you're telling your kid like, hey, you started this thing, you committed to this thing, like, we talked about it up front, we weren't sure how you were going to feel about this, but we committed to doing it for a season, and a season is 8 weeks or whatever, and you're going to see it through to the end of that 8 weeks because we paid for you to be in this program or whatever. If you're telling your kid that, it encourages you to live that yourself, right? Of like, hey, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to be telling my kid one thing and then acting a different way myself. So if I'm telling my kid that he needs to have follow through and he needs to finish the project that he started, then I need to finish putting those parts on my bike, or, finish moving whatever thing that I was going to move around the house, whatever projects you're committing to, right? Like, having that follow through so that you're setting that example for your kids and holding yourself to the same standard that you would hold them to.
I think it comes down to what's that terminology that's used all the time? The breaking the cycle, the traditional. What's the word I'm looking for?
Breaking the cycle, like,
I could have sworn there's another phrase, but like, generational curses. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's always the do as I say, not as I do, because we were taught that way. And now we're telling our kids the same thing, but like, then we get upset when they don't do it. But they're watching us.
Yeah.
They're seeing what we're doing. And it's difficult. I know for me, because you've seen my unfinished projects in my house, in my garage. Like, it's easy for me to make excuses, and it's easy for me to get onto my children about not doing this, that, and another. And like, and for me to self-realize that, hey, maybe I'm the fucking problem here.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to make excuses, right? Because like, I could make the argument that it's easier for Noah to finish a project than it is for you to finish a project, because you've got a full-time job and a podcast and a wife and kids to take care of, where Noah basically has Noah to take care of, right? Like, his life has a lot more downtime in it. But like, at the end of the day, that's just an excuse, right? Because like, if that thing is important, you'll find the time for it. You'll make time, because the big projects that are like really critical to get done, you do find the time for, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not using you in the general sense here.
No. I know what you're saying. I know you're not calling me out.
Yeah. I mean, also, yes.
No,
but
I'm one ear out the other, not listening to you.
I've got a whiteboard of projects going, and that's something that I've found really helpful. Is like, I have things that I am doing, like projects that I'm working on, things that I would like to do, and then like aspirational stuff, right? So like, I want to redo the backyard before fall because I want to be able to play out there with Alana when it's not 1,000,000,000 degrees. That's something that I want to do. Like, I'm cleaning out the refrigerator because we just got a new one and now we have a garage refrigerator. So I'm cleaning out the old fridge and moving stuff into the new fridge and figuring out where things are going. That's a project that I'm in the process of doing, and I'm working on it. And like, having that just written down on a whiteboard so that when I'm done with it, I can cross it out. I don't know if it's just because I'm a super visual ADHD kid, but like, being able to draw that line through the thing on the list and be like, I finished this and I'm moving on to this. Or like, I'm moving this from my aspirational list to my in motion list. Like, it helps me stay organized, and it helps me actually finish the tasks that I set out to start.
I do know that we did try that.
And then you ran out of whiteboard.
There's no more space on the refrigerator. But it's still one of the, like, even the smallest tasks seem daunting. So it doesn't get done for whatever reason. I've had to fix April's sink for the longest time because the inspector that did the walkthrough of the house before we purchased it did not run the cold water on her side of the sink, so it leaks out of the cartridge. That has been on my to-do list for about 8 months now.
Classic.
Mostly because that cartridge does not exist. Trust me, I've looked. But again, like, you know, that's such a small thing. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, you know, again, hobbies. I like Magic, okay? We play it every fucking Saturday. We have for fucking at least 3 months now, yeah, I'd say.
Yeah, give or take.
Like, I find time for that. Let's say I want to be a drummer. I am going to tell myself, I'm going to go buy a really nice drum set. I'm going to go spend that $1,500, air quotes here, because I'm actually fucking not. And then it's going to sit somewhere because I'm going to tell myself that I don't have the time.
Yeah.
I'm going to have time for this podcast. I'm going to have time for Magic. I'm going to have time to sit on my phone and scroll Marketplace for a couple hours every day. Like,
well, and that's, I mean, so part of committing to a new hobby is the commitment, right? Like, trying a new thing requires some level of commitment to attempt, right? Not necessarily a commitment to success. We've been doing this podcast for almost a year, and we are arguably not very successful. But we're doing it. We're putting it out. And we're successful in that sense, right? We're successful in the commitment that we've made to this project. And like, you've committed that time because you enjoy playing Magic and because you want to learn the game and you want to have that. Honestly, like, I love hobbies that are an excuse to hang out with friends, right? So like,
yeah,
Magic, because we have game nights. Like, if you're into sports, having like, there's the park up the road from us has a sand volleyball, has 2 sand volleyball nets, and there are groups of people that come from varying age. There's like everything from church groups to like some people from the college across the way, like that they will come like every Wednesday night or every Sunday night or whatever, and they'll come out and like a bunch of them get together and play volleyball. And that's such a cool thing. Like I was in an intramural soccer league in college and did that, right? And like it was such a good time because it was a hobby that I was interested in that gave me an excuse to socialize with people and hang out with my friends, right? Like even if we weren't recording this podcast, it would be cool to hang out and talk and drink beer for an hour every Wednesday. Like, and
Or
so
two. Hour
like,
or two.
Even if we weren't playing Magic, it's nice to have an excuse for everybody to come over and hang out and talk and joke and laugh and drink beer. A lot of my hobbies involve being able to drink beer while I do them.
Yeah, those are the best hobbies. I can't do that while playing drums. So yeah, I'm that hobby's out the window. I'm just kidding.
I mean, as somebody who played live music, you drink while you play. You just, drink between songs.
No, you ever? Okay, so Coheed and Cambria through the Fire and Flames. Have you seen that video? The guy's drinking right before he's just like, I'm like, all right, this guy's way too badass.
Yeah, man. You gotta hydrate before you bust out something like that.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. That's fair. But I mean, yeah, it's just I just want everybody to know, like, don't make the excuses. I'm gonna make excuses. I'm never gonna be a drummer, and I'm gonna always wish. I'm gonna be 80 years old and wish I took that fucking chance. But like, I'm gonna tell you, listening, watching, don't be me.
Yeah.
Go be a drummer. Go be a guitarist.
Like it's never late to try new things, right? Like there is no like you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Like you have the capability to learn things throughout the entire cycle of your life. Don't ever give up that desire, that eagerness to learn new things and to keep learning and growing as a person, because that's what makes you an interesting human being, in my opinion, is the desire to grow and develop new opinions and hobbies and things and interests. But like on top of that, like don't be afraid to do something just because it's fun, right? I have a lot of friends who like, and I'll call you out on this, Derek, because with the exception of a couple things recently, like getting you into Magic, you are notorious for like, oh, I want to try this thing because I bet I can make money doing it, right? Or like, I want to pick up this hobby and find a way to monetize it, right? And like, that's cool. And like, everybody needs a side hustle. The economies in this shit are like, it's wild, right? Anything that you can do to get some passive income going or even some active side hustle going, like, I get it. But don't be afraid to learn something just for the joy of learning something, or have a hobby just for the fun of it makes me happy to do this thing. Like, I used to play music professionally and I made money doing it and it was a ton of fun. And now I still play music and I don't make any money doing it, but I still have a really good time and I enjoy it. And so I make time to play music because it's something that I'm passionate about and I like.
So you know what? I'd be the drummer. You are the bassist. We know a guitarist. We just need a singer. Look, band, boom, we're done. See, now we're gonna monetize it. I'm in. I'm just kidding.
I mean, the reality of that is, but so here's the thing. You can do that without the intention of monetizing it too, right? Because like we could start a band and just go play some shitty bar shows where they like half of the shows that I've played in my professional music career, we got paid in beer or basically beer because we got paid like $20 and we all spent it at the bar that we were playing. Like
they knew they were getting that money back.
It was a free show. It was just us going out to have fun and like we were going to either be playing music in a garage or in a bar that night. And why not do it in a bar where we can, maybe have some fun with somebody else.
Dude, that fucking van I sent you, see, that's the start of our musical career. Throw some equipment in there. Boom. Yeah. Haul it around.
That definitely not kidnapper van. I'll throw a picture of it in here if I remember to while I'm editing. It's 100% a van for kidnapping.
Okay.
It's a beautiful panel van with these gorgeous windows that have been completely sealed off with a metal chamber inside.
That is not it's insulation, because so people actually know, it is a van to haul dirt bikes to and from an event. That is what it actually is.
Yeah, it's a van to haul bodies to the desert.
You know what? We live here. I don't give a fuck. Like, but I'm making a joke. They're like, hey, we got a van. I just need some drums. I got to learn. We just need a singer. I got my kids downstairs. Maybe.
I like
Maybe that's what it
that you're
was.
like, hey, we've got a band. All I have to do is learn how to play an instrument.
See, positive thinking.
Yeah, man.
Glass half full kind of guy right here.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, one it's also like I think that I don't know, at some point in life we develop an image of ourselves, right? Like I made the comment about like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm the nerdy finance guy, I can't do the sports thing, like, and that I think that happens a lot in like honestly even as far back as like high school, right? Where like cliques are forming and like the drama kids only do drama and the sporty kids only do sports and all that kind of stuff. And like even then I was that guy who was just like, hi, I'm Goody and I do yes. Like, you know, but like, you know, the farther you get in life and the more you, especially if you have a hard set image of that, right? Like if you were the high school quarterback and then you went to college and you played football and then maybe you went pro, like you're a football player, right? Like that's who you are. And you build this identity around that. It can be hard to like get into stock trading as a hobby because like that's not what football players do, or like get into Dungeons and Dragons because that's a nerd thing and I'm a jock, right? Like we kind of build up we build up our own walls around like what our personality is.
Because I will say, I'm gonna cut you off here because
no,
like
please.
a lot we box ourselves into these little boxes, okay? And then we're afraid to try the other thing for fear of what someone else might think of us. Because again, we'll take me as an example. I'm a you. Like I'm in everything, and I'm in a lot of things. When I started playing Magic, I was very like, oh god, what is everybody going to think of me? Like that's such a nerd thing. And then I was like, fuck what everybody else thinks. Like I'm having fun. Like
who cares?
Do I care about what the fucking local sports team is doing? No. Like I'm surprised I even know the name of the NFL team that's here.
Yeah.
But like again, the jocks that don't want to play D&D, don't want to play Magic because well, my other jock friends might think like, no, get your other jock friends into it. They'll fucking love that shit too.
Yeah, man. And what's funny is like there's this weird like closet thing that happens where people end up as like closeted nerds, or like it's I think more rare that people are like closeted jocks, but like there are so many people who are into like the nerdiest things that you just like wouldn't expect because that's not what their persona is, right? Like my favorite example is like Vin Diesel plays a ton of D&D.
I would have never thought that.
Nobody thinks about Vin Diesel as a D&D player because he's this big, muscular, like super rad guy who's the biggest like sweetheart of a nerd. Like when he's not Dom, right? Like he's either Dominic Toretto or he's Elvian the Blade Slayer. Like
So I did not know that. That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed in myself that I wasn't able to pull Vin Diesel's D&D character's name from the top of my head, but I'll get there. I'll throw it in the comments.
But so like don't be embarrassed. Like you know, again, we're afraid of failure. We're afraid that we don't have the time, or we're gonna waste too much time. We're afraid what other people are gonna think. Like again, who gives a fuck? Like once we're gone, we're gone, and we're just gonna take our regrets with us.
Yeah, and like you know, I would encourage everybody to just, even if it's something small, try something new. Like get out and do something, and you know, set that example for your kids that like it's okay to get uncomfortable. It's okay to be nervous, to try a new thing. It's okay to step outside of the box and take a risk and not care what people are going to think about you. Like I think that's a really good example for kids to have in their life, is just like, obviously we live in a society, right? And so you have to care what people think to some degree, because otherwise you're that weird kid. Which like, hey, that's also fine, but most people want to be accepted to some degree. But it's really important to be able to set that aside and just be like, no, like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm going to go do this thing because I want to.
All great valid points. I'm gonna write a fucking outline. I'm gonna write an essay on this episode. Submit it to my college professor. Not in college. Don't care.
I love it. This has been my book report. I'm proud of you.
Well, canceled.
Seems like a great point to wrap up the show.
Yeah, I think we're good here.
Thanks for joining us for another week. You may have noticed that we changed up our posting schedule a little bit. For our original listeners, we used to post on YouTube on Fridays, and then the episode would upload to the podcast feeds the following Monday. We got some feedback that the kind of buckling the weekend like that was not ideal for people, and so we've started posting our YouTube videos on Monday, with the podcast going up the following Wednesday. So let us know how that works for you. If you like it, if you want us to change back to the other way, if there are other days that you'd like to get your content, let us know. Because we appreciate everybody who watches this show, listens to this show, shares the show with other people so they can listen to the show and watch the show. And we want this to be something that's enjoyable for you, right? We want this to be something that you can listen to on your commute or while you're doing the dishes or whatever it is that you consume content. Be able to throw us on and listen to us yammer on about how cool life is as a dad.
And me being in the next professional drummer. Be on TV next week.
Until next week, I'm Andrew Goody.
And I'm Derek Mata.
And we are proud of you.